Hello everyone, this is Gautam. In this video tutorial, I am going to discuss about floating static route. So in my last video session, we discussed static route. So what is the use of static route and how we can configure the static route on Cisco IOS router. So if anyone missed out my last video concept means please go through it, then you can come back here and you can watch this concept so you can able to understand the concepts. So we can see. So static routes. So static routes have a very low administrative distance of 1. So this means that your router will prefer a static route over any routes that were learned through a dynamic routing protocol. So administrative distance. So in next video session, I will explain you the concept of AD value. So normally the AD value range is 1 to 255. So either the router will use static route or dynamic route. So whatever it is, there should be some predefined AD value for static route separately and dynamic routing protocol separately. So if router have two paths to reach the destination, so one path the AD value is 10 and another path the AD value is 20, means the router will prefer the lowest AD value. So because if its lowest AD value means that path will be untrustworthy. So that's why the router will prefer lowest AD value. So here in my first point, what I am saying means by default static route have very low AD value, that is a 1. So the router will learn same path through any dynamic routing protocol, means still the router will prefer the static route only because of the AD value 1. So now here, if we want to use a static route as a backup route, we will have to change its AD value. So this is called floating static route. By default, router will prefer primary path as a static and secondary will prefer dynamic path due to AD value, because static route AD value is a 1. Now floating static route means the router will prefer the dynamic routing protocol as a primary and backup as a static route. So backup as a static route means we have to change the AD value of static, then only the router will prefer the dynamic routing first, next it will prefer the static route. Okay, we can see. So this is my example scenario. So here I am using 3 router R1, R2, R3. So R1 to R2 I am using 192.168.100.0/24 network. R1 to R3 I am using 192.168.200.0/24 and R2 to R3 I am using 192.168.150.0/24 network. So R1 I am assigning IP 11 for both interface and R2 22 and R3 33. So based upon this example only, I am going to configure full floating static route concepts. So all IP address has been configured as per the diagram. So in this slide I never show it how to configure that IP address for that interface and everything, because it's by default everyone will know. So that's why I'm mentioning all IP address has been configured as per the diagram. So now R1 can use R2 or R3 to get to the 192.168.150.0/24 network. So R1 either it can reach this network 192.168.50.0/24 network either by R2 or R3. So here let's configure R1 and R2. So R1 and R2 to configure to use a RIP protocol. So RIP is a one kind of dynamic routing protocol, so that it can reach this network. So using RIP protocol I can reach 192.168.150.0/24 network. So here RIP is configured only on R1 and R2. In R3 I never configured anything. Okay, so RIP protocol as per the new Cisco syllabus CCNA 200-301. So there is no RIP protocol for CCNA syllabus. So in this video session, just I will tell you overview of RIP protocol and how to configure that RIP. So first we can go to R1 router. So the syntax for configuring RIP protocol. So router space RIP. So both of them are predefined key. So you have to given as it is. Next one, in RIP protocol, there are two versions are there, version 1 and version 2. So version 1 will support classful address only, and version 2 will support both classful and classless address. So classful address means version 1 only support on classful address. That means it won't support subnetting. So that means default class A means the default subnet mask is 255.0.0.0. Class B means 255.255.0.0. So we cannot use class A IP address as class C. So likewise we cannot use it on version 1. So that's why we can always prefer RIP version 2. It will support both classful as well as classless. Then no auto summary. So we no need to summarize that address. So that's why we have to give no auto hyphen summary. So next one, R1 direct connected network is 192.168.100.0/24 and 200.0/24. So here I am using only R1 to R2. So I never use this one. So I am giving network 192.168.100.0/24 network on R1. So next one, we have to configure R2. So router RIP. Next one, both of them are predefined keywords. Next one, version. Then we have to give 2. Next, no auto hyphen summary. So to disable the summarization. So next one, R2 router direct connected network is 192.168.100.0/24 and 192.168.150.0/24 network. So both of them are I configured here. Then afterwards, I am going to check the routing table from R1 router. So R1 should now able to reach this network through R2, that is 192.168.150.0. So I'm giving the exec command show IP route space pipe begin 192.168.150.0. So here we can see in R1 routing table I have an entry 192.168.150.0/24. So here 120 indicates the AD value, administrative distance. By default for RIP AD value is 120. So that's why it's showing 120. So via which interface I can learn this network? So that is 192.168.100.2. that is an R2. So my outgoing interface is fast Ethernet 0/0. So here first one, it will indicates which routing protocol you are using. So I am using dynamic routing protocol, that is a RIP. That's why it's showing R. Okay, now R1 as an route 192.168.150.0/24 network. So what if we want to use R3 as a backup? Now I can use R3 as a backup. So R3 is not running any routing protocol. So we have to use static route. I'm going to use static route as a backup. Okay, let's create a static route for 192.168.150.0/24 network through R3 router. So just go to the R1 router. I'm creating static route for 192.168.150.0. So IP space route 192.168.150.0/24. That is the subnet mask 258.258.258.0. So next to IP address is an R3 interface IP 192.168.200.3. So after creating the static route, again I am going to check in the R1 routing table. So again I am giving show IP route pipe begin 192.168.150.0. So now you can see the router R1 router prefers static route due to AD value. So the static route AD value is 1. So RIP AD value is 120. So automatically router prefers static route over the RIP. So because of lower AD value. So now I remove the static route because static route I can use it for backup, not primary. So the primary is a RIP protocol only. So just I am removing the static route. So just go to that global mode. Again I have to give no IP route, network ID, subnet mask and next hop IP. So after removing this one, again I have to configure the static route with AD value. So now the trick is we can change the AD value of static route. By default AD value is 1. So the syntax for changing the AD value for static route is just go to the global mode. You have to give IP space route. Then you have to give the network ID and subnet mask and next hop IP. Then afterwards we have to give question mark. So you can see these possibilities of commands you can able to configure here. So here first command only, first one only important, that is an AD value. So here we can change that AD value. So AD value is a 1 to 255. So again the RIP administrative distance value is 120. So we have to pick higher than this 120. So here I'm giving 121 for static route. So we are going to configure the static route again, IP space route, then we have to give network ID, subnet mask, then next hop IP, then we have to give the AD value. So here I am mentioning the AD value as a 121. So now from R1 router I configure the static route. That static route also reach through R3 router, and AD value I changed it to 121. Now again I am checking on R1 router routing table entry, show IP route pipe begin 192.168.150.0. So now you can see I can have the entry for RIP entry only I have. Here we can see 192.168.150.0/24. AD value is a 120. So now RIP AD value is 120 and static route AD value is a 121. So automatically router prefer RIP path. So that's why it's showing RIP path. So now even though static route we configure, so that is behind this scene. So static route is still there somewhere behind the scene. So let's see if that is a true. So to test this, I will shut down the interface of R2 that connects to the R1. So from the R1 router, so from R2 router is connecting towards the R1 router. So that interface is F1 bar 0. Just go to that interface. I'm giving the command shut down. So after shutting this port, it will take some time because RIP is a slow routing protocol. So after some time the routing table will be changed on R1 router. So now again from R1 router I am giving show IP route pipe begin 192.168.150.0. So now I have the entry for static route. Here we can see yes indicates static. If it's R means it's a RIP protocol. And here we can see the AD value is a 121 and it will be reached through R3 router. So our floating static route is now installed in the routing table. So this path only we can say floating static route. So it's installed in the routing table. So you can see it shows the AD of 121. So if you would unshut down the interface of R2, it will install the RIP route again. So once the router interface came up, it will remove the static route and install the RIP. Again that interface goes down, so it will install the static route back for backup purpose. Okay friends, so now you have learned how you configure static routes with a higher administrative distance. So tuning them to into a floating static route. So you can use this as a backup for routes that were learned through the dynamic protocols. Okay friends, thank you for watching my videos. So if you have any queries, please ping me in the below comment section. So I will reply to your queries. And thanks for watching my videos and subscribe my channel for further updates and share to your friends also. Thank you friends. Thank you.